Yeah, you should have.
Posted that. Posted that.
Haven't done anything.
No, I don't care. You're live again.
We're live.
I don't even.
Okay, we're back. Access the file. We're back in regular session. I need a motion to waive the rules by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Smith. All those in favor to waive the rules?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So your other resolution.
Yeah, now we need a resolution. I'll ask the clerk to.
So we need a motion to appoint Christina Mastriani as acting commissioner of the Warren County Department of Social Services for a term not to exceed 1 year commencing September 5th or until such time a permanent commissioner is appointed, and that would be at the current DSS commissioner salary.
Motion by Supervisor McGowan. We have a second by Supervisor Bruno. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Then we'll go back and read communications.
Hey, we have the Warren County Auditor's Real Property Tax Corrections Report for July of 2023, Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Financial Reports dated August 30th and May 31st, 2023. Warren County Clerk's 2022 Annual Report. The official certified copy of a letter submitted by former Supervisor Hillary Steck resigning from the at-large Town of Queensbury position, which was filed with the County Clerk. Town of Queensbury Resolution Number 268 of 2023, appointing Nathan Etu as Town of Queensbury Supervisor at Large, and Washington County Board of Supervisors Resolution Number 203 of 2023, adopting Adirondack Community College budget.
Okay, we're going to reading resolutions.
Proposed resolution numbers 371 through 406, as well as 2 proclamations were distributed to the members of the Board of Supervisors on or before Tuesday, August 15th, which met the requirements of the rules of the board. The proclamations before you are number 28, Women's Equality Day, and 29, Immunization Awareness Month. Resolution 406 was amended after mailing. The revised copies are in your folder. So we do need a motion to accept the revision that's provided.
Motion.
I'll put the motion forward.
Motion by Supervisor Diamond, second by Supervisor Smith. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And I would also note that the motion that you just made, waiving the rules of the board, that would be resolution 407, and the resolution appointing Christina Mastriani is 408.
Discussion, public comment on any resolution. Anybody wish to address the board on any resolution in fact? Okay, we'll have board discussion. Supervisor Conover.
Thank you. I have some questions and concerns on resolution 380 that came out of the environment. But basically, and I don't necessarily don't support this resolution. I mean, I can support this resolution because I don't think it would be being made if the department head and the chair of the committee weren't convinced that someone in the private sector is going to there's sufficient interest to come in and remediate the property and clean it up in short fashion. And that would save us money, because the alternative that we came out of Public Works, I believe it was Public Works, was that well, okay, let's secure the property, let's investigate it, let's clean it up, and then put it out to bid. And very straightforward thing. So we said to the commissioner, the superintendent Hayjos, put this on a timeline, get the environmental work done, so we know what the issues are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, once again, that's one path. Now, there's a second path in front of us, and I don't necessarily oppose this path, except that now we're proposing to send, I would look over to the county attorney relative to this, because now we're proposing to sell a piece of property, put it out for bid that may have some environmental issues and that concerns me from a liability point of view. The person bidding on it may or may not be aware of the environmental issues. And what really worries me is that we're gonna find ourselves, once we transfer this property, sitting here, or some people are gonna be sitting here 3 years from today with a piece of property that still hasn't been cleaned up. It still hasn't been remediated. So, those are my concerns. Obviously, the department head and the chair, obviously you folks are aware of all those issues but are recommending this path. And, and based upon, that confidence, I guess I can support this resolution. But the most fundamental question I have is what safeguards exist to ensure that in fact the property is cleaned up and remediated as you hope it will be. There's been high levels of expression of interest. People have come in and they know there might be some environmental issues. They're prepared to remediate those issues at whatever cost is, and they're prepared to do the demolition, they're prepared to clean up the property in short order and put it to good use. Or are we selling a piece of property, and here's my concern, and then we're going to try to rely on local codes and local situations to try to force people, once they purchase the property, to clean it up. So that's it in a nutshell. I can support this. If you have all the confidence in the world, I can support this. But if there's any hesitation you have on this path, I'm a little concerned because while we languish with this, you have neighbors in Queensbury that are having to live with this. And so that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I can support this legislation if you have that level of confidence that the private sector is going to take care of this for us, lickety split.
Supervisor Bremer.
Thank you. As chair, I don't mind speaking to this. You've laid out the two paths quite clearly. And I am confident that this is the best path for the county at this time. That the private sector will have an opportunity to take this property and clean it up and do something great with it for that community. And I do think that it is better to go down this path than to continue to put the burden on the county for this particular piece of property. This isn't like a Sibagagi. This is, a residential parcel in a community. It's been secured with the fencing by DPW, and Mr. Hages assured us that that is all tightly secured at this point. So I'd like to see us be able to get it out to the community, roll it over and get it back on the tax rolls and out for clean, proper residential use.
Then,
That's
based
all I
upon,
can say
based upon the chairwoman's strong recommendation, which I don't think she would make without the strong support of the department involved, I can support this legislation. I'm knowing full well that, sometimes life throws curves at you and we may find ourselves on down the road having to go down the other path, but we're going to give this a shot first. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion on 380?
Yes, Mr.
Supervisor
Chairman.
Stroud.
This piece of property has had a long, contentious history. Public health issues and a multitude of other issues have been involved here over the multiple years process that we've been trying to deal with this particular piece of property. We offered to work with the county to do an environmental review of the piece of property. And do what's necessary and possibly remove the upper structures of the piece of property. It becomes convoluted because there are other apparatus on the property that is private property to the individual and still not property of the county, nor from what I understand can be. And I'm talking about a trailer and an RV. So in any event, the county said no, because all those costs eventually become burdens of the county, and that's true. The cost of remediation, which I believe was in the $2,000 or $3,000 category, and whatever costs that ensue would be a burden of the county. So we've had this discussion. I was present at this discussion. And they said, well, let's just try and sell it. And buyer beware. Any buyer is going to have to take on whatever burdens this property may present. And it's going to go to the highest bidder. Okay, well, Supervisor Conover brought up a lot of concerns, which are accurate. But if it's the will of the county to try and sell it, hoping that the new buyer will remediate any health issues and improve the property, okay, fine. I still don't know what we're going to do with the other issues on this property. But at least this is some kind of a movement forward. Thank you.
Supervisor Leggett, you got your hand up.
Right. Now I'm trying to remember what it is. That,
On 380. Talking about
Right.
resolution 380.
several years ago, the county put in these sales that buyers had 1 year to clean things up. We found that that was no longer tenable. We had to take that out. If these were easy situations, they would have been taken care of long ago. And these are some of the things, we have houses in the town of Chester that have gone through a foreclosure that should have been ripped down, taken out years and years ago. And there's no recourse that we have for getting rid of those properties get it out on the market, see what happens. If anything, should there be a condition that for this one sale, that the property be cleaned up within a particular amount of time? That's just a question.
Supervisor Wild on 380.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I can't support this unless there's some mechanism to put a timeline on this. Because it could last for years. There's unknown things in that structure that may end up costing tens of thousands of dollars to remediate. So our choice is, what do we want to do? Do we want to just try to sell the property, or do we want to clean it up and get it back on the tax rolls? My sense is the second is a better choice.
Okay.
Unless without the timing.
Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with that statement. I think we need to put some qualifiers in here from what I've heard about this property. From what I'm hearing, I don't believe, to the best of anyone's knowledge, it's severely contaminated or whatever. But I think we need to ensure that the property is cleaned up, either whoever purchases it either cleans it up and builds something else there or cleans it up, period. But I think that needs to be stipulated somewhere in this.
Okay, Supervisor Dresser.
Thank you.
Without objection, could we hear from Lexi?
Sure.
Perspective. Thank you.
Go ahead, Lynn.
So on something like this, even the law that we used to have into place that we have since removed, Warren County cannot supersede Queensberry's code enforcement. Queensberry's code enforcement supersedes Warren County. So even if we had that in play, it would not work for this property anyways. That falls back to the town of Queensberry's code enforcement office doing their job of putting the fines on them or doing what they did already with the prior owner. While we were in the middle of a foreclosure, Queensberry had a motion before the courts that the judge signed on against the prior owners. But because the county became the owner, they could not move forward with that signed motion from the judge because we were now a new owner. So they could do the same thing if it doesn't get cleaned up by whoever buys it at a tax sale or an online auction. They could go after the people the same way as they did the prior owner if needed. But, I mean, there can be language put in when we do put it out for bid. We can let them know that they do need to reach out to the town of Queensberry if they're the successful bidder to find out what needs to be done going forward. There will be pictures online for the auction as well, showing the condition of the home. I mean, yes, the windows are boarded up. The roof is still pretty straight. It's more like a middle section that you can see anyways from the chain link fence. I couldn't get in any closer. of what maybe has some burn through the middle, but that was about it. I mean, I think that this could go either way, you know, I mean, I think when the committee had their meeting, I think what everybody was trying to do is save the county from having to pay the bill of, say, $40,000 to clean this property up, when we could possibly put it out to bid, get it, accept a bid, and then move forward with the new owner being able to do that cleanup instead of the county having to do that cleanup. I think that that was the big discussion that went on during committee. And everybody, should I say not everybody, the committee members chose that this was the route that they wanted to go with this, instead of putting the expense onto the county for the cost. Remediations can be quite costly, or could not be, depending on what is at the property or what is found at the property.
Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we could the county could stipulate, well, the county can't stipulate that you need to do such and such with the property,
No.
but the county could stipulate that you need to consult or abide by whatever town of Queensberry's decree, rules, or whatever with respect to this property. In other words, if the town of Queensberry says you gotta tear this building down, you gotta remove this equipment, whatever.
Those are already town rules. If somebody wants to build something or somebody wants to demo something, they have to go before the town of
Yeah, I
Queensberry in order
understand
to
that.
be
I'm
able to
talking
do
about
that.
this particular issue. We need some stipulation in there that whoever takes this property is gonna do the right thing with it, correct? Thank you.
Supervisor Bramer.
Well, I think what the director is saying is that we can't, we took out those legal stipulations, but she can ask the auction company to put something in the description of the property saying you're gonna have to reach out to the town. I mean, it's not entirely binding. It's not.
Supervisor Stroud.
I think what Supervisor Bruno suggested was a good suggestion. That there be not a stipulation, but a notice.
Mhm.
And a notice is, and Lexi's entirely correct, a notice that this property will have to be rehabbed, just a notice, in accord with the town of Queensberry's building and codes. And of course, we give them a reasonable amount of time, but I think Supervisor Bruno is just saying in the auction notice to add to that notice that this property is going to need to be in accord with the town of Queensberry's codes. You know, and let it be. And whoever is
Yeah.
buying it at least knows
Right.
that there's an issue or two or three or four involved with it.
I agree.
Supervisor.
This is kind of a question for the county attorney, and I might be wrong. In real estate, if you got something wrong, don't you have to disclose that to the buyer? And if that's the case, do we have to do that with this sale?
Usually I know there is that form that you fill out when you sell a house about that kind of disclosure. And if you don't fill it out, it's a $500 credit to the buyer if you don't. And every attorney that does this is going to tell their seller, don't fill out that form.
All right.
Not in a foreclosure.
But not-
We're still on 380. Supervisor Conover, yeah.
Yeah, I
discussion on
just,
380.
the triggering point is the transfer of title. If what you're saying is that the successful bidder has to demonstrate to the town of Queensberry a plan for the successful remediation of the property prior to transfer of title, then I think you've got something. But if we're gonna
No.
take a low bid, a high bid, or whatever it might be, and we're gonna transfer the title, then the person owns the property. I don't know how you enforce anything at that point in time, other than through the courts. And then what we're doing is, with town of Queensberry saying, we bought the property, you're supposed to do something with it, and then all of a sudden you got every excuse in the world. And now you're having to take an enforcement action and go to court and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the triggering point here is that transfer of title. So what you're telling me is you can safeguard this prior to, I would turn to our attorney and say, is it possible to have that kind of Queensberry concurrence prior to transfer of title? If the answer to that is yes, then I think we're okay. If the answer to that is no, then my question to those that want to go down this path is how do we ensure that this property is going to get cleaned up? Because we can't go back to Plan B. We don't own the property anymore. Right now, we own the property.
Let's see, you have it.
So this,
380.
this is what ends up happening when there's tax foreclosure sales. It's not like a typical sale. That would me selling my home to you for X number of dollars. When it's a foreclosure, it's an unknown. Just like with a bank foreclosure, it's an unknown of what you are buying. Somebody could have gone through and taken all the cabinets out, the furnace, the hot water heater, the pipes. And you don't know that because you're not allowed to go in and inspect the property when it comes to a foreclosure sale. So this is no different than any other foreclosure or any foreclosure sale that we hold at our auction in October. Those homes, we're not allowed to, when we go out and post, we're not allowed to enter any of those homes to see what's in there. So when somebody's buying a home from us at a foreclosure, it's an as is. We cannot give you any guarantee of what's going to be there or what is not going to be there.
Enough discussion on 380?
Yeah.
Supervisor Brown,
I have a different one.
yes. Which one?
Okay. 389 is the Ice Castles funding, which I don't oppose. I am asking though that we offered to our residents a Warren County Day. If you recall, when we gave them 50,000, they agreed to provide us, I don't remember if it was every Wednesday, Warren County residents could get in for $5 or something. And I would like to see us put that in the contract again. I know it didn't work out great last year because, or this past winter in 2023, because they were open so little. But now that it's going to be more weather independent, I really think that they should be offering that to our residents.
I agree.
Supervisor Driscoll on 389,
That was articulated during the work.
discussion on 389, Ben? Supervisor Driscoll?
No, I was just saying that was articulated by the Ice Castle folks,
Okay, any more
as
discussion?
well as the other program.
Okay, 389,
Are you saying let's amend 389 to include that verbiage?
I saw, I see our
Which one?
director is here. I'd be happy to hear from her on this, but it sounds like it's already been contemplated and maybe they've agreed to do that again.
you remember? There's.
Thank you very much. Yes, they will be doing some sort of community piece. They're going to work out those details. I don't know if it's spelled out exactly in the resolution.
No.
But I can definitely confirm that and make sure that that happens. And I'm sorry, I ran all the way up the stairs. But they will be doing something very similar to what they've done in the past. They just want to make sure that it's utilized by the community and not by externals coming in saying they are community members. So we're going to work with them to make sure that that actually happens for our community.
That would be part of the contract, not part of the resolution. The resolution just authorized, and then when we get into the contract.
So if it's part of the contract, I'm fine with that then.
Yes,
That would be Warren County residents only, which is,
and
It
we
is-
can absolutely
it
make
is part
sure
of the
that that's in the contract.
okay. I'm good with that.
Any other discussion on resolution? Great.
Yeah, 396. That's adding 2 new positions, along with deleting and adding a couple position in the tourist department and so forth. Personally, I like it when, if we're gonna ask for new positions, that they be voted on separately. When we tie them in with other issues, it makes it very difficult to separate when we're not separating them. So I'm gonna have to vote no on this. Because of the fact that it has 2 new positions being added, which I'm not for. So if you can separate that out,
I'd be glad to vote on them separately and probably be in the affirmative on the second part, but the new positions would be enough. Thank you.
Any other discussion on resolutions? Supervisor Stroud.
Just a clarification, I think I understood in regards to 380, which is that 27 Indiana Avenue parcel, that we were going to add a notice to the bid notice. And the notice to the bid notice would be that this property will need to be remediated in accord with the town of Queensbury's health and building codes. And do we need to put that as an amendment to the resolution?
Robert, we need to amend that resolution. Are you asking to amend? So if somebody want to make a motion, to amend the resolution 380.
I'll amend it as Supervisor Stroud indicated, a notice on the auction notice.
We have a motion by Supervisor Brinker. Do we have any discussion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Supervisor Bruno, your second.
The
Okay,
remediation.
discussion on amending the resolution. Let's vote on the amendment to resolution 380. All those in favor of amending resolution 380 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
Right.
Discussion on resolution. Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, on resolution 380, one more time, the sentence that except that's in the first resolve, bottom of it, that no further authorization shall be required from the Board of Supervisors to complete the sale. So the way this is worded, this isn't coming back to us. Do we want this to have to come back to us? Do we want to satisfy ourselves? No. That this property is going into good hands? Or do we want to make, and somehow make it someone else that responsibility and incumbent on that person? I just proposed the question. If not, that's my comment. Thank you.
Any other discussion on resolutions? Seeing none, public, nobody? Hey, I guess we're gonna vote on resolution. Yeah, any requests for roll call votes? Supervisor Stroud.
Now, just like she wants me to say publicly that I'm in agreement with going ahead with the sale or the potential sale of 27 Indiana Avenue with that notice.
Thank you.
You know, I don't know, I don't think there was any confusion, but she wanted me to state that, so.
Okay.
Get a gold star. Get a gold star.
Voting on resolution.
Excuse me. Resolution 371, making supplemental appropriations. Excuse me, Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yeah.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 372, amending Warren County budget for 2023. Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan, Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 395, enacting local law number 4 of 2023. Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 396, amending table of organization and Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2023. Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
No, as for the reasons I stated above.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 843 votes in favor. Resolution 398, establishing capital project H422, replace 4-box copy runway 119 lighting. Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty.
Yep.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 399, authorizing appropriation of funds from the vehicle reserve to the sheriff's department budget. Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 400, authorizing appropriation of funds from the general fund, county road and road machinery unappropriated surplus accounts to various departmental budgets. Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier.
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 401, increasing capital project H322 Palisades Road over Brant Lake Inlet Bridge. Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Etu,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. Diamond,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Drossy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Merlino,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 402, increasing capital project H381 South Johnsburg Road over Mill Creek Bridge replacement. Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan.
Yes.
Mr. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yes.
Mr. Leggett.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier.
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Merlino.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 403, authorizing appropriation of funds for the motor fuel systems reserve for the Department of Public Works budget. Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan.
Yes.
Mr. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yes.
Mr. Leggett.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier.
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Merlino.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yes.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 404, authorizing appropriation of occupancy tax reserve funds to the tourism department budget. Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan.
Yes.
Mr. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yes.
Mr. Leggett.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier.
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Merlino.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Resolution 405, authorizing appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated fund balance to the Office of Community Services budget. Mr. Wild.
Yes.
Mr. McGowan.
Yes.
Mr. Beatty.
Yes.
Mr. Etu.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Conover.
Yes.
Mr. Leggett.
Yes.
Mr. Diamond.
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt.
Yes.
Ms. Bramer.
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier.
Yes.
Mr. Drossy.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Merlino.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah.
Chairman Garrity.
Yes.
Resolution passes with 932 votes in favor. Just collective on the rest.
Collective on the rest of the resolution, all those favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, we'll open up the privilege of the floor, public comment. Anybody wish to address the board? Okay. Announcements. Anybody have announcements? No. That being said, motion to adjourn. Supervisor Conover, second by Supervisor Stroud. Thank you all for attending.
What you did, on.